Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful people. Welcome back. It is another episode of League Unlock. Mark and Eric here with you guys, wrapping up what is basically the penultimate spring split action, at the very least in the major regions, with the third place match in the LPL. It was supposed to be the finals that everybody was waiting for, but it is FPX and IG playing for championship points. That's what the third place match is. You're just getting a few more championship points.
Hey, and looking at these two squads, knowing IG, knowing FPX, knowing where they want to be ending up, where they expect and demand that they end up here at the end of the year, these championship points for Worlds are very valuable. This was the matchup that everyone was hyping up. And of course, the big storied franchises, world champion franchises, this is what you wanted in your finals. This isn't the finals we're getting. I'm telling you, the finals that we're going to get are going to be explosive. They're going to be a lot of fun. But this third place match, you didn't want to miss this one because this was also a banger of a series.
Yeah, this is about as good a third place match as you will ever get or see in the pro scene. And the stories coming into it was Ning starting in the jungle for IG and Khan getting the start in the top lane. And in the first match, it was spicy early on. There was some 2v2. You got to see a lot of Ning and you got to see a lot of Khan, but it was Tien's Graves early on who was putting in some insane levels of work.
And this is something we've talked about before. We talked about it with the LCK finals. Graves has really been emerging as this strong power pick in the jungle, gives you all that flexibility that, you know, this champion has built into that kid as far as the damage that he's going to bring to the table, how he's going to move around here, and how aggressive he can play here into some of these junglers that are also being played, has really allowed Graves to excel at this point. And Tien put it into full effect for FPX in game one.
And it was another Jace game for the Shy and another rough go where he got a lot of jungle attention from the opposing team. He finished 0-6-2 on the Jace. Another underwhelming performance out of him. And it was the Galio mid for DoinB. Him and Tien absolutely stole this game. It snowballed pretty darn quickly. They combined to finish 12-0-22 in that first game as FPX wins in 28 minutes. It was 3 kills that IG were left with. 22-3.
I know it's only one game, but you see this form out of FPX and you're wondering, where was this against JDG? And the answer really is, in this type of situation, it's what JDG did to FPX in that type of response. That is exactly how this goes out. And you're seeing this play against IG. That can only make me pretty darn excited about what we're going to get for the finals.
And hey, you sub in Khan for this game. He plays a tank. Game 1, he gets the Ornn. I know he's also a tank assassin bruiser. You know, we'll let LS go on the rant. But he looks good in his first game. FPX take that numero uno. Game 2, we get to see the twisted fate out of DoinB. And early on, it's more, let's send some attention to the Shy's Jace in the top lane, because that has worked for both them and TES.
Yeah, it was I swear these are pretty much repeats of exactly how Top wanted to go into their games, and the game plan that they executed here. It's simple. Set up that tent, wait simple for the Shy to overextend in that lane, because you know that he usually will. He thinks that he's that confident that he's going to be able to do it, and he's that confident that he's going to do it when he's 0-2. He's going to do it when he's 0-4. He's going to do it when he's 0-6. That is exactly the way that the Shy plays, good or bad type of situation. And for FPX, the way that they attacked him, it was all bad for IG in this game too.
And it looked like FPX were going to completely snowball out of control again, but give IG some credit. They absolutely got back into this game. They had some really good team fighting, specifically Rookie on the Azir. Some of his positioning and his ultimates absolutely got things rolling back into the momentum of IG, and they're in the driver's seat. And then all of a sudden, there's just a Baron sneak from FPX. DoinB's just split pushing on the TF. All of a sudden, ultis to the pit, and they kill it under IG's nose. Then they would deny them. They were on Ocean Soul Point for 3 dragons in a row.
Oh, man.
And FPX, the smite was true from Nien on a couple of them, but Rookie finished the game 7-1-11 and lost the game. That feels bad. That feels bad.
That's majors feels bad. And that's one of the situations where you get that Ocean Soul. That Ocean Soul is so valuable for the composition, and everything that it will provide in just the slight advantages that FPX had at that moment getting that Ocean Soul would have at least brought you onto par with them and let you have that chance in those team fights to get through. Wasn't for them.
Yeah, but game 2 was much closer than game 1. Game 3 looked a lot more like game 1. Yes, it was a sweep, a clean sweep from FPX, and in that third game, we got to see what we were waiting for, and that is, of course, the pocket pick of Zach for Ning, right? That's what everybody wanted to see. The Zach jungle.
Backs up against the wall. That's what we were waiting to see from Ning, man.
So,
Oh man.
Obviously,
that's not it.
Obviously, IG went into this series thinking, Ning, you're playing this series. Lian's not playing. It doesn't matter how it plays out. Because after falling down 0-2, that's the time you're absolutely making a sub. So they were obviously committed to starting him. But he comes in the Zach. Obviously, the pocket pick we were actually excited about was the Fiora for Khan. And it didn't disappoint.
No, it did not disappoint. This is Khan on the carry champions. It's split push champion special here. Khan looked fantastic on this pick, and it absolutely was one that FPX smashed through and got a major advantage here to close out the series.
And you have Khan playing the meta champs. He played Ornn, he played Aatrox, then he performs well on the Fiora, outplays the entire IG lineup at one point, which begs the question, well, why didn't he play against JDG? Why didn't he get subbed in for game 3?
And this is where, again, I was on that side of staying with Gimgoon. This performance here from Khan and the form that we see from him right now, and more or less impressively, and I know that this hasn't always been the case for FPX this split, but seeing the way that they played around Khan and with Khan, that is what gives me the sign here that, you know what, the right call was to make that switch to Khan back in that series against JDG. I was definitely wrong in that one. This is the move to put Khan in, and you saw it in this series, and I think you're right, it was more or less one of these situations where FPX and IG, IG said, look, we're going to go with Ning, and FPX said, look, we're going to go with Khan for pretty much the entirety of this series. Seemed to be the way, and his performance backed it up today.
Yeah, and I mean, FPX looked great. Doing B, 3 champions he played. Galio, Twisted Fate, Victor. Yep, that's doing B, baby. That's what you want to see.
He built them all just like Doing B always builds those type of champions.
Tanky as you possibly can. His
you
TF
better believe
hilarious.
There's a righteous glory in
that. When it's all said and done, it's only 10 more championship points for FPX after this series. But, man, if you don't want to head into the offseason off a nasty 0-3 if you're Invictus, if you're FPX, you say, yeah, we just didn't play up to the level that we should have against JDG. We're still a world-class team, can still repeat as world champions. Potentially, you still have confidence. Really, the only thing you're questioning now is, do we give Khan more games when summer rolls around?
And I think both of these organizations will be looking at, questions similar to that, right? As far as who is going to be getting the majority of the play time for FPX, absolutely, you're going to have to be looking at Khan and Gimgoon, because Gimgoon did provide a level of stability for this roster and a level of familiarity.
He was part of their huge win streak. He was the guy getting the majority of the looks.
Exactly. Back to that old system of how they would play around the map, and obviously a player like Khan that is resource intensive and at the same time has this type of champion pool that he prefers to play, that is something that is very different here for the FPX squad. And hey, you've seen the power that can work when they can play around that and they get everything going in the right direction. But at the same time, we've also seen games where it's not going the right direction here, and that is not the level of play that you would expect from a world champion like FPX. But you hit it right on the head there. This is the question that FPX and IG, 2 teams that are going to be wanting to go to Worlds here, that these championship points are valuable. They do have to look at this offseason here. It's going to be longer than we were expecting given everything with coronavirus. And they're looking at this one to say, hey, we got to get these points back. If you're IG, you're 10 points behind FPX, and you know that you're going to be facing FPX at some point at the World Championship. So making an improvement to be better than them, find your edge to get the victories over them, it is extremely important for these organizations.
And that's back-to-back very underwhelming performances out of the Shy. When you look at the 6 losses, because IG went 1-6 in the playoffs. 1-6, the team that finished 14-2 in the regular season. And in those 6 losses, you had a sweet little 32 deaths for the Shy across them. That's not what you need out of a guy who, at times, we have talked about as being the best individual player in the world, not just the LPL, the entire planet.
Right, and these type of performances, don't line up with those statements. But the statement that the Shy is at a lot of moments actually throughout the year, the best individually skilled player in the world is a true statement here. So having these performances in the playoffs and the way that these teams have been able to prepare and counteract the Shy here and make it a completely non-factor and in fact a negative factor for IG in these series is a point of concern, and one that not only the Shy needs to clean up his play, be more responsible things. IG needs to fix some things
Give him some
as well.
ganks. How do you not give the best top laner in the LPL? He seems to get ignored in some of these games. How do you ignore the Shy's lane?
Hey, man. Again, and this is all those rumor type of things. There's nothing going on between Ning and the Shy now. You better be ganking my lane, bro. Come on.
What about when Leanne's playing? It's the same issue a lot of the time.
And again, that doesn't excuse it because Leanne's playing the majority of the time anyways, and we're still not seeing that attention put to the Shy. Look, we say it. He is the most individually skilled player on the planet. Yes, you should be able to get your own advantages. And yes, the Shy does get his own advantages sometimes. But sometimes you have these situations where the enemy team is going to be putting these resources, putting these consistent attention on the Shy. And we haven't seen that responded to in any type of way from IG. And as you said, 1 in 6 in these playoffs, there's been more than enough instances here where IG should be able to recognize that this is going to be the play coming into the series here. And we have to have something prepared to try and switch this into our favor if it's not going our way.
Rookie looked good. So IG, you got that going for you. It is.
That's usually your fallback, but it wasn't enough this time.
Absolutely wasn't enough. Couldn't even get that game 2. It is the final time we'll be talking about promotions in the LCK as we head into franchising for 2021, but it just wouldn't be a proper send-off if you didn't say goodbye to Griffin as they exit oh so gracefully from the promotion
Don't let the door hit you on your way out.
First, they get O2'd at the hands of Team Dynamics, and then they follow it up by getting 2-0'd by they lost to Cerebral Gaming. They didn't get 2-0'd. They won a game. And then they got 2-0'd by SANDBOX. And that's it. You're out. Griffin, from World's contenders, perennial finalists in the LCK, in one single split, they exit the LCK as mysteriously and triumphantly as they joined.
And good riddance to the way that they... Look, everything coming into the scene was fantastic, and everyone was feeling so good. And then this past year, I can say that I'm pretty happy to see Griffin be ousted here from the LCK. The unfortunate side, the thing that I'm not happy about is obviously the players on that roster. Feel for a lot of them personally, and knowing the skill that we have seen from a lot of them, there's more that they can offer for let alone the League of Legends scene, but specifically in the LCK on these teams. There's certainly room for these players. Tarzan, Viper, there's still a lot of skill left on these squads. UCal especially is going to be someone that I think teams should be looking at picking up. Our boy. This is sad for the players on Griffin, but if you're a League of Legends fan around the world, an LCK fan, this organization being relegated is not something that you should be feeling upset about.
I don't even know if you should feel sad for some of the players. Tarzan, Viper, and UCal. If I'm them, I'm like, whew, we're off this shit, boys. Let's get on an actually good team. Get Viper on Hanwha Life. Get him back with his pal Lehens, because their bot lane position was an absolute mess. You throw Viper on there, that's looking pretty good. And by the way, Wadid, who joined the team a week ago, basically, tweeted out after this, "Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm not happy." Buddy, this has nothing to do with you. He should not be taking any of the blame.
Hold on. Number one, Wadid was fantastic this entire year on the Korean broadcast, and then as well filling in his second language on the English broadcast.
He was terrific.
Phenomenal job. Great personality and everything coming through. Takes this opportunity to join up with Griffin. Very exciting.
A good disaster situation, though. Fighting for promotion.
And he steps in, and you're looking at his play and what he's contributing to the team. Wadid, this is not your fault. What are you talking about? This is all on you, man. You're crazy. You're too kind of a soul here. You can't be putting this much of a result and failure on yourself. This is not the move, Wadid. Let us just give you a nice, friendly webcam Corona hug here. It's going to be okay, and we're going to get through this. But all the best, obviously, to Wadid in this group.
I don't care if he's playing as a professional player or goes back to commentating, we got to get more Wadid on these broadcasts wherever he ends up. He's capable of doing both. It's whatever he chooses to do. But buddy, this is not your fault, this whole Griffin situation. And when you look at the pieces that have strewn across the globe, Kanavi in the finals, MVP of the LPL. Dragon X, CV Max has 2 new rookies that he's helping groom to all-pro status. Doran, all-pro top laner. Chovy, 100 points away from getting MVP. Lahens, well, Hama Life wasn't great, but you're still talking about Lahens as one of the best supports in the LCK, despite playing with 3 different bot laners all split. And Griffin, no longer part of the LCK.
Man, you bringing up that is, get Viper on Hanwha Life, please.
Yes.
Get our boy Lahens a little bit of help here. And I saw it in some of the comment threads about this. People are going off on Viper, and I'm like, man, do you remember how this guy would play in the bot lane? Do you remember the skill that he brought to the table as far as playing mages as well down in the bot lane? This is not a guy that you just want to cast aside and say, I've seen enough. Come on, you've seen enough of Viper? Get out of here.
These guys are still so young. They're 20 years old at most, a lot of these Griffin players. Just fly free, Griffin players. Tarzan, you're telling me a team's not going to sign Tarzan for the summer split? No one's going to sign Viper. He's not an upgrade over at least 4 other bot laners.
Less than a year ago, we're talking about Tarzan as one of the best junglers in the world. There's no way that these players will not want to be snatched up by these squads. And I'm telling you, these squads looking to pick up an impact player like this. These can be big acquisitions for your squad. And as we said, no sad feelings here for Griffin being ousted. A little bit of sad times for some of these players, but you look at the skill that they bring to the table, they should be landing on their feet, get these contracts done.
Did we forget what Tarzan did to G2? Did we forget that 4/5 of this Griffin roster was oh so close to carrying a corpse of Sword against Invictus Gaming in the quarterfinals? They're still good. Come on. Get them on a better team. The team replacing them, Team Dynamics coming in, which is a bit surprising, maybe. The key member that you'll know here, well, Kuzan has been in the LCK before, not really a household name or star player, you would say, by any means. Been on Jin I believe he was on Gen G for a bit. And but the fun story is, of course, Rich, your boy Richie Rich, who was on Gen G for a bit, but this is the former Heroes of the Storm, amazing player, and then Blizzard said, yeah, Heroes of the Storm's dead. So see you guys, good luck. So he started playing Pro League, and here he is, back in the LCK. He's playing top lane now.
Hey, good to see him come through. We saw him last year. We talked about, pretty solid performances, especially for someone just switching into this game, and especially a professional level, doing pretty darn solid. Hey, great to see him now and the continuing growth here. This is someone that has shown that, at least at the very basic level, deserves to be a League of Legends pro. And I think that when we move through here and you see the transition of the same skill set and, learning more about the game in the macro sense and the individual matchups, that is going to be where Rich continues to improve.
And Team Dynamics are in for summer. Obviously, franchising a totally different beast. But the final spot in the LCK gets down between SANDBOX and, I cannot say their team name, Sirabiol Gaming. I've tried so many times. I can't say it probably. But this is the fun challenger team that has a bunch of ex-LCK players with Tall, Kakao, and Sangyun. It would be really fun to see these guys make it back into the LCK. But at the same time, it would be sad to lose Summit and On Fleek and Route, players like that. Gorilla, that might be the end of the road if Gorilla is sent into challengers.
And this SANDBOX team should be better than where they ended up at this point in the year. I mean, you could say that about Griffin as well, but specifically SANDBOX and what they had on the roster and the way that you felt like it would work together, what we had seen from them at the beginning of the year with the Kespa Cup and the chemistry that they seem to have, you would have thought that this was going to be a better year for SANDBOX. Not so much the year that you would expect to see them here fighting for their lives in relegation. But you hit it. You said it. That we're going to see Kakao. You're going to see Tall. You're going to see a lot of players that you remember seeing in the past in the LCK on the other side in this one. So this is certainly going to be a relegation match that I think a lot of people are going to have a little bit more familiarity with than some of the others.
And either one of them would be a welcome addition Again, no idea what'll happen to most of the teams after summer when the LCK hits franchising, but there's going to be at least one last hurrah for some of these smaller organizations rolling into the summer split. We've been talking about Doublelift a lot with the trade to TSM. Team Liquid providing an update. Yesterday, Steve made a video basically talking about some changes that will be happening in summer. Basically, Kane is moving from the head coach position to the strategic coach, which sounds like it'll be macro. Some say in the pick ban general matchups. They'll be looking for a new head coach. It sounds like they already have him. Steve just said they don't have the legal things figured out yet, so they can't announce it yet, but they have their head coach locked up. And the obvious one that most people were kind of expecting, Tactical, set to be the starting ADC for them next split.
And I think that's the nice step to make here. I think a lot of people thought that maybe you would go, all out and try to bring Sneaky into this roster, try to make another type of
I might
trade.
rather have Tactical. But at least
that's a different type of
what's
discussion
the ceiling?
entirely. But
we don't know.
What we've seen from Tactical and what we know about Core JJ, I think that the expectations on what their bot lane should be doing are pretty darn high. This should be one of the better pairs that we have here in the LCS. Whether they're going to be at the very top, I think that's going to take a lot more time to see. But they certainly are enough potential with Tactical, enough skill already at the table that it's just about building the chemistry between the two. And I don't think that that's going to take too long.
My favorite part of that little video that Steve did is he talks about Doublelift and says, just the way he says it, I fully expect him to have his best split ever next split, and we'll have to beat him at his best. That's the fun of sports. But it's like he's dying inside a little. He's like, man, Doublelift's gonna have a crazy split next year, isn't he? And completely
he's like
again.
I've seen this before. I've seen Doublelift move from a team and have a split where he just annihilates everybody in the league. But he was doing it on my team before.
Yeah.
And now not so lucky in this type of situation.
It's when you give a guy like that extra chip on his shoulder where, motivation issues. Are you washed up already? You kind of abandoned that team. You're no good. That's the only tiny little bit of extra motivation that a guy like Doublelift needs.
Hey, man, as unmotivated as he was at the beginning of this split, that's exactly how motivated he's going to be.
He's completely flipped.
Summer split.
Yeah.
Exactly. Flip the switch.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's already streaming with Bjergsen. The boys are back in town. The old trifecta from 2016, 2017.
We're already losing our minds here about Doublelift coming back to play League of Legends. Maybe he's going to be coming back to play some Valorant, playing a bit of Valorant with Bjergsen, Lena, and Broken Blade last night. Who knows?
Hey, if an MVP of
Overwatch
I hope he's not
League
actually
going into Valorant, given the shots I saw.
If the MVP of the Overwatch League's leaving to play Valorant, maybe some MVPs from the LCS will join.
Just put together a whole Valorant pro team of players from other esports.
Faker?
Let's do that.
Faker?
Yeah.
I saw Faker playing TFT the other day. I'll tell you what, he's not going pro in that. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, Faker's only good at League of Legends games with skill.
Yeah, that's right. He's the mindless role. Like, how do you get your APM up in TFT? What are you supposed to do? You got to run your little legend around. We'll see if there's who Team Liquid ends up announcing as their head coach. But that's it today for League Unlock. Mark and Eric here with you guys. As always, thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you boys and gals on the flippity flop.